There are 9 college football head coaches that just wrapped up their 9th through 11th season at their current school. Pretty long time. So let's go ahead and give out grades for each of those coaches. We'll start with Kirby Smart, who gets an A+. Yes, he inherited a program that was already operating at a very high level, but he finally broke them through the ceiling of winning a national title, and he won 2 of them. Very impressive stuff. He has Georgia as the class of college football. Jason Candle at Toledo is going to get an A. He takes over a program that's near the top of the MAC, and he has sustained them for the most part as a contender in the MAC year in and year out, and he's won some conference titles as well. Matt Campbell at Iowa State gets an A+. When factoring in the context of how historically bad Iowa State football is and where they are now, they've been in the Big 12 title conversation, and in that picture as an above-average bowl team year in and year out, that is extremely impressive and it deserves an A+. Kalani Sitake gets an A- at BYU. He's had some really high highs, some really solid teams and solid seasons. A little bit of inconsistency in there, but for the most part, they've operated at a high level with him at the helm. Pat Narduzzi at Pitt is going to get an A-. Everything Pitt is today, they have to thank Pat Narduzzi for. An ACC title is almost unfathomable at Pitt, and yet he accomplished one a couple of seasons ago. There's been some lows, though. For a while there, they had a pretty firm ceiling. They had a 3-9 season just a couple of years ago, and then this last year, ending on a 6-game losing streak, is a little rough. The future for Pat Narduzzi is uncertain, but his legacy is already cemented at Pitt. Chuck Martin at Miami of Ohio is going to get a B-, another top-rung MAC program that Martin takes over, and he's done some pretty good things, but there's been a few years where they've been the most talented team and a team expected to do great things, and they haven't quite reached their goals like this last season. Them not winning a MAC title was kind of surprising. We've got another MAC head coach in Chris Creighton who's done a really good job of instilling a winning culture and winning games at Eastern Michigan. However, there's been a pretty clear ceiling. They've never really had that breakout signature year. No MAC titles for him. We've got James Franklin at Penn State. Going to be an A-. He took a historically great program that was in a tough spot after some NCAA sanctions and violations, and he's gotten them back to their former glory where they're really good and they're contending for a title, at least at the conference level and sometimes at the national level. They just can't get over the hump and seem to beat those top tier teams, which is the biggest knock on Franklin and the reason there's a minus next to that A. And then finally, we've got Jeff Monken, who's done some really phenomenal things at Army this last season, I think, which is a small dose of some of the great things he's done there, which is why he gets an A, because they've had some pretty phenomenal seasons with him at the helm.